call the commission meeting to order here and start with the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
He's out. All right, quick roll call. It sounds like Commissioner Sorber and Commissioner Kaiser are out today, but we have the rest of the commission here.
Boy, we get to do
Don't give me
everything.
ideas by looking at the agenda. Yeah, and any additions to the agenda. Take that.
As you know, we switched the meeting so that it already conflicted for Robert and then apparently Nick too, so.
Oh, that's fine. Well, pretty light agenda, so we'll handle what we need to. Any comments from the public? And online? Can we see who the participants are? If anybody raised their hand.
Or are there? Oh, yeah.
No name written. Okay. Moving on to old business. Miriam, Marina update. No update. We did have a good advisory committee meeting last night, so we'll handle that.
Last night.
Yeah. I'll chat about that a little bit more in my commissioner comments. Airport update, Tracy. No update. Wow, we're just cruising here.
Am I gonna have time to drink my coffee?
Better drink up.
Over there, you can't leave till they're gone.
And Lignetics update.
Yeah, we have Mr. Nelson here.
Yes.
Come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
45-minute presentation.
Oh, good.
It's like for like 4 or 5 minutes. So our scrubber project is progressing very well. The equipment is all installed. We're finishing the electrical and plumbing connections this week. We plan on testing the system hopefully Friday with the plan on starting up limited production by Monday. Wow. We have a picture.
I did get the picture of the mix.
It looks fantastic compared to the old system, so.
You can actually see the new.
Yeah.
What do you have?
New stack, you can see it from the building. It's a little taller than the old stack, you know, with the DEQ approval based on the dispersion modeling. We did, so. We're very happy with the equipment so far, and we're looking forward to starting it up. And I have kept in contact with the city and the neighbors, so they're aware of our process or progress.
And when do you think it'll be operational?
Hopefully Monday.
Oh,
We want to test it this week, so we added a week to the downtime just to deal with extra plumbing and electrical. We had some surprises on the plans, but we want to get it in right and work for that, so. We have contractors on site today and tomorrow finishing up.
And what's the expected like reduction in?
I don't remember the exact amount, but it's supposed to outperform the previous system. And we have a similar system at 2 other sites in Lignetics. I think we'll met the specs. We have some performance guarantees from the supplier as well that it will meet the requirements. So they have some financial incentives to make sure it works.
All right. Well, that was nowhere near 45 minutes.
Well, 4 to 5.
4 to 5.
Or even 4 to 5.
Well, that's great news.
I'm excited. I know Jan's excited. You know, she's been very happy. I've kept her up to date. And it's going in the newsletter, so the community is aware of what's happening. And it's nice to finally be on the good side of the neighborhood.
Oh, I
was gonna say, I bet that feels good, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
the crew's very excited. The old equipment was in very, very rough shape. We've been trying to dig up some records on that. The city, West Oregon would started operations here in 1989. I don't think the equipment was new when so it's probably older than that, and it was, I'm glad we took it down when we did. I don't think it would have lasted. It was structurally unsound, so.
Wow. Good timing.
Yeah, good, excellent timing.
Yeah.
So, any questions?
It looks nice.
Concerns? It does look nice, yeah.
Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so dogged in making sure this happened.
Yeah, this process took a little while, but a lot of that was out of everybody's control. And I will say, it seems like Everybody worked really well together.
It is a testimony to, wanting to get along.
Well, and
wanting
I
to
feel
do the
like
right thing.
Jan misdirected some credit towards me when I saw her on the street, and I want to make sure that it was the commission. You guys have really put the focus on this and made it a priority. And we definitely appreciate that, as far as trying to move things along, get things done. So sometimes it takes that a little bit, a little push, but the timing worked well with their budgeting. And
Yeah.
it's just great. I'm really, really happy.
And we have the transfer project, so.
That's right. Is that installed and ready to
It's not
go?
installed, PD came through last week and went, its measurements in the fall. We have some work to do on our side, to get prep for that, we'll do that probably this spring.
All right. Awesome.
Great. Okay, moving on to Commissioner Community Giving. So this is somewhat in addition to the policy that we previously passed, as kind of a discussion around how we might support additional things in the community that we don't have the budget for. I think we want to make sure that there's no conflicts with staff as we work through that. And I will kind of kick it to Nancy to explain more.
Thanks. Yeah, this is a concept that actually isn't new, but it's certainly new to us. And in the nonprofit world, it's very appropriate and sometimes even required that members of the board contribute financially to the nonprofit organization. And so extrapolating that further and considering the small budget that we have to participate, the parameters that we have around who qualifies, and also the length of time it takes to move through that process. It just occurred to me, why? Because all of us are community-minded people. That's why we're doing what we're doing. I would assume all of us do contribute financially to organizations that we care a lot about. Why not extrapolate that further and allow commissioners to invest for the port with their own money? To me, this does two things. It tells the public that the commissioners are extremely dedicated to the work that the port is doing, and not just the work of the business, but the work of being a participation within a community. And it also allows the port to get their name aligned with groups that you wouldn't normally qualify. I mean, we're very invested in all the cities. We're very invested in anything to do with business. But where I think we could do a better job is aligning with schools, with nonprofits that are involved in social work. These are things that have always been rather outside of our bailiwick, and yet here we are. And especially now, it seems rather interesting timing. We know that nonprofits are going to be hit, it would seem. Nonprofits will be hit hard when it comes to generating monies to support themselves through grants or other means that they would have relied on in the past, may not be so available through them today. And our groups here all struggle to survive. They all need our help, our community help financially. And so I brought this idea first, of course, to staff, or rather to Sean, and then to Brian, and then I took it to each individual commissioner just to get some ideas of whether or not there was interest in it and what the questions might be. And so we do have some questions that came up in my conversations with commissioners. And I'm sorry that all the commissioners aren't here, but I'm not intending that we're going to make any final decisions. But what we want to do today is start the conversation and get a consensus about, do we have all the questions that we want? And do we have answers for all the questions that we have? And the first one I have is what nonprofits should be excluded, if any? And that came up in our conversations because I think we all as individuals have nonprofits that we certainly support and other nonprofits that we may not be so supportive of. And it was a really easy conversation because everybody understands. There was no question in anybody's mind. We're not going into anything that is controversial. We're doing the nonprofits, the food bank, the mental health, the schools, things that we automatically support as individuals as well as the port itself. So avoiding anything that brings us to a controversial decision. We also talked about, should it be a majority vote or would it be the percentage, the 3-2 vote? And it seemed from the conversation that most people were agreeable to doing the majority, that if we don't all agree, then we won't do it.
Consensus.
Unanimous.
Unanimous.
Consensus.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Because if we do it by majority vote, it would be, some people may have hard feelings. That's not what this is about. It's not about having hard feelings. And it's about making sure that everybody is on board, that everybody does think it's a good idea. And please stop me if you have any questions as we go through this.
So yeah, I think initially we were talking about specific entity, but I think importantly, you broadened that. And I think that's the important part is what you're saying is bringing to the commission and letting you guys decide. I think that makes, and I don't know, I think I'm just going to echo something Robert said this morning, was he'd be interested in not tying things up in a policy so much as,
Me too.
not tightening the screws too tight, but so I don't know, we need to amend the recent policy that we did. If you guys want to just keep it somewhat casual and bring it to the group for decision, like you said, if it's non-controversial group, it should be a slam dunk. And you're talking about your own funds, right? You're not.
We're talking about personal funds, and it can be one commissioner, 2 commissioners, all 5 commissioners. It would be, the idea is you throw the proposal out there and just see how many people would like to contribute. And if the person who brought it up is the only person who wants to contribute, then that's the way it'll stand. There's no obligation for people to financially participate. And that brings up another question is, like, once this gets out, once this is known, I can imagine we could get a lot of requests. And maybe it would be a good idea to limit the number of proposals that any one commissioner could offer during any calendar year. I don't know if that's appropriate.
Maybe a dollar amount
think,
or
maybe a dollar amount.
well, I mean, it's your money, so I mean.
I know, I can't imagine it would be, the dollar amount would be the huge thing.
And if we start putting rules with it, then it does turn into.
And then it turns
policy.
into something.
I kind of like it just being casual, things that we're passionate about as commissioners,
Right.
as they come up. I don't anticipate anybody's going to be every single meeting. Hey, I got 4 things I want to support.
Yeah.
Unanimous versus majority vote, I think is, would be obviously fair because, there's certain things I'm sure that, well, I guess we're talking about non-controversial, non-political.
Right.
Yeah,
So there's one thing that came up in conversation that I really want to be sensitive to. And that's, we have this other policy and we're going to be approached through our process on that. And I want to make sure that this doesn't end up conflicting with that. And they're not, there aren't people that go to that, don't get what they want, and then go to a commissioner or have issues essentially where they're kind of playing staff against commission or something like that. So that's part of the conversation. Doesn't necessarily have to happen today, but
Right.
I would like to understand probably from Gina's perspective at some point how that might look and what sort of concerns you might have.
Well, the policy that we put in place that built a couple months ago We have two commissioners on that committee that will be making those decisions of what we are going to fund, because I did not want it on staff. So, and as a member of the nonprofit board, I'm sure people are gonna reach out to whatever opportunities for funding that we have available to them. So I would imagine that would be the case, but I'm thinking this would be more like if they would be reaching out not to the port, but to the individual commissioners for those types of contributions. And that's who we would be, I'd be directing them at, and they're gonna donate, they're asking for donations outside of our official policy.
Right.
That's more,
Yes,
they need to contact the individual commissioners for what you guys are discussing.
right.
So you don't see a whole lot of conflict is what I'm hearing, is that?
I think as long as if we create that separation between this is
Mhm.
commissioner led versus staff led,
Mhm.
I think it'll be fine. I just wanna make sure that people understand in the community that's a separation. And I think that's important in terms of confusion,
Absolutely.
so.
One of the interesting things that Bob found in our board policy was the fact that you guys aren't even allowed to have stationery. So that's kind of what part of the question was, okay, so let's say you don't get consensus or unanimous decision, you still want to donate, can you still say Nancy Ward, Port Commissioner?
No, I don't.
I think you can, can't represent the port, but you
Right.
can say as a port committee, just like a campaign. Right. Like I can use campaign dollars to support.
Couple things from your email, if you don't mind me reading,
Sure.
are pertinent here. Board members giving to local nonprofits in the name of the port could expand our reach, which I think is the important part, is what you're talking about, is our exposure, expand our reach and impact if commissioners donate in the name of the port. Commissioners involved would be responsible for submitting payment personally and would receive a tax deductible receipt to them individually, not the port, from the organization receiving the donation. I think those are the important things to point out. If we were going to move forward, that'd be the better way to do it.
Yes. Yes, as long as we all understand, and of course, we aren't all here, so, this does need to go further. It needs to further refinement. But I think the gist of it is, we're just simply trying to do good things in the community and get the name of the port aligned with a bigger audience than we've had the ability to do in the past. And we don't have a budget yet for our.
No, that's what we're waiting to implement, is to
Right.
decide on, we'll be determining that on an annual basis. So when we go through the budget here shortly and determine the funding for the year for the official community giving policy, then we will post that on the website and let that know that those applications are open.
That sounds good.
And if I understood correctly on the commissioner giving, the intent would be to use port branded
Yes,
item, like the tent or the
yes.
backdrop. Is there any?
Or have our
with the-
name and our logo on. the
Logo, yeah.
program. Yeah, because otherwise there's no sense in doing it if we're not getting our brand out there.
The giving is one thing, but yeah, also the name is the.
Yeah,
Is there any issue with that?
I don't, not that, if you guys have consensus.
You better make sure Bob doesn't have an issue. with that.
Yeah, I know he's online and I'm sure he's
So he'll think
listening
about it.
intently, but yeah, we don't have to decide right now, so.
well, and it's interesting because I called Casey Garrett. And I asked him, do you know of anybody in the county who is doing anything like this? And he said no, but he thought it was interesting and he was gonna look into it and, who knows, maybe we'll start something new.
Would you like to
Because,
hear from Bob if he's has anything? to
yeah,
say?
absolutely.
Well, if you have something good to say, Bob.
Here I am floating above Port Westward. I think it is interesting and also good to remember that with the brand new community giving policy, there is a community giving committee that will meet twice a year. And I noticed that there's also a list of 9 things that are excluded from that policy. And one of the things was one that you mentioned, Commissioner Ward, which is the schools are actually excluded from the community giving policy. That's on
Right.
that list of 9 items. So that's about all I had to add. I mean, obviously, if the commission agrees on it, then it's good.
Yeah, and I think these are the things that we want to investigate further is, I don't understand why schools are excluded, but that's what we need to find out is, would that be a policy that also applies to commissioner giving? These are the things that need further investigation. Right now, we're just exploring. We've got a concept in mind. Everybody agrees on the concept. We just don't have it refined.
It seemed like we had a pretty narrow focus on the community giving, not the commissioner giving. I'm trying to not say that, in regards to it being somewhat tied to economic development.
Right.
And this commission, which makes sense. We're using court dollars to do stuff that supports our mission.
Yes.
And
that
this
makes sense.
commissioner giving seems like it should be a little more flexible to support things that aren't necessarily tied to economic development, but are really good for the community.
Mhm.
And that seems really reasonable and smart.
Yeah, and I think it's not a matter of just writing a check and giving an organization a check. That we can do personally without involving the port. But if there's an event or something that will allow us to be associated and our name given to this event, again, just with the idea in mind of expanding our reach. Again, knowing that so many people don't know who the Port of Columbia County is, don't understand what we do. The more we get it out there, the more we have a chance to talk about it, the more people begin to see, if our name's on a t-shirt or if they see us on a program. It's just this subliminal idea of getting our name out there, attached to good things that are happening in the county.
This could be something like an event where we have a booth, or it could be something like a run or something like that, where we have a team.
Yep.
Okay.
Or who knows? I mean, I know Nick is involved in baseball.
Little League.
Little League, there's just all kinds of opportunities that we are individually involved in, but have never associated it with the port.
So in terms of next steps, unless there's a lot more we want to talk about, sounds like maybe working through some of the details here with staff, making sure we're kind of all on the same page.
Only thing with the booth is that takes a lot of staff coordination and time. Those events are usually on weekends.
I think it has to be the commissioners, because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the only concern I have.
Yeah.
We do our booth at the community events and
Mhm.
just organizing the one event in every community and getting staff and on weekends together to support that is a challenge.
Absolutely.
So I would be a little bit of concern if we were adding more staff time to doing more events of that sort.
So no expectation that staff would be available,
No.
which I think is fair.
Yes,
This is commissioner led. I would assume
Put
that,
up the booth.
Yep.
yeah.
It's upstairs.
Yeah, and that I do think is really important, because I think this is not staff driven. This is commissioner driven. So the effort that goes out in the community should reflect that. It's our name, it's our faces, it's our work that goes into these things. Let us be the one who take care of all the details that we don't like taking care of.
not that it would exclude staff.
No.
If it's something
not
that
at
staff's
all.
passionate about or
Yeah.
has the time
For
to do
sure.
that.
Yeah, that's
Certainly would be.
Yeah.
Everything's
Especially summer
volunteer.
weekends are very, people are. It's really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
That's when most of these events.
I was gonna say, we're coming up on the busy season. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Okay, well,
okay.
that was good conversation. A few more details to iron out.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing that.
Yeah, let me look and make sure there's nothing else that we, nope, I think we covered them all. All right, we'll take it further.
Okay. All right, moving on to new business, Clatskanie Business Center discussion. Commissioner Kaiser is not here, but Sean's gonna give us a little rundown.
Commissioner Kaiser and I spoke this morning, and, he just wanted to make sure that everybody understands that the Clatskanie Rural Fire Protection District is interested in acquiring the building from us. There, been discussions in the past of, we got the building from the school district for essentially the cost of closing, paying for the cost of closing. And, we did spend some money on some reports. And the fire district is interested in assuming the ownership of the building, being the landlord, with the caveat that the port gets to keep our current space in there. So LA would still have an office space there. And that we handle any tenant agreements that happen in the facility. which the fire district would keep a similar approach to nonprofits, people needing meeting space. They've already got the training space set up for the fire folks and then use the board, the one room at the very end of the hall for their board meetings. So that, they continue doing that and then offer up some space to others, that's of it, because they're not going to use it all.
Right.
But they like the idea of keeping it in the community held. They have some money that they can invest in it. As we know, we've got probably close to $500,000 worth of things we could spend on it, roof siding, the asbestos abatement, which is limited to some specific areas. They're not afraid of that. They were going to be building a new admin building, it sounded like, and the cost kept going up and up, and they decided they like the asset they're already using and would be willing to take that over. So what I would like to have is direction for board staff to start that process of what it would look like for an asset transfer to them. And I think I'll double check with Bob, but I don't think we have to declare a surplus or anything, essentially due to the way we received the building. And Robert thought we had a 5-year, couldn't sell it within 5 years or 10, it might have been 10 years. I think we're outside that window. If we had, we would have split the proceeds with the school district. Here, there wouldn't be any proceeds. It would be essentially a transfer. Like I said, our portion of the deal will be kind of being the super, not necessarily fixing things, but getting tenants in there, handling those license agreements or rental agreements, whatever they decide they want to do. So that's kind of the gist of it, and we're just looking for direction to.
I have not heard any opposition to this, but.
How quick can you get it done?
We love the building. It's been great. I spent 7 years there, and it was sometimes a lonely 7 years, but I felt a connection to the building, which was nice. I never felt, people said it was haunted. I never felt anything weird. But yeah, I think the idea, I think a lot of people like to keep that in the community and keep it as something that the community can use. I know we haven't done the best at that, but we have had some tenants coming in and out, and then people using it for board meetings. So hopefully this will help with that a little more once we put a little money into get the roof fixed, and that should be hopefully a win-win for the community.
Seems like an excellent.
Oh, my gosh, I think it's.
But we won't have any responsibility for
Maintenance
the asbestos or
correct.
any of those issues. Okay.
We'll just help with leasing and Elliot gets a space out of it.
And you'll have company.
It'll be a little less lonely.
Be nice.
Maybe you can convince him to install an EV charger up there.
Yeah.
Although that would take away business from the PUD.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, and I believe that Commissioners Kaiser, Zorber on board with this.
Definitely.
Commissioner Kaiser.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Okay. Will do.
Okay, speaking of moving forward, we'll just go right along to Executive Director's report.
Okay, I sent this out Friday. Hopefully y'all received it. We had some things coming up here. I was off Monday, by the way. Oh, I wanted to talk about, if we could, second meeting. We currently have the 26th as a work session. Typically that'd be the evening. Would there be any interest in moving that to the morning due to, we want to invite the budget committee? And because guys, well, the only business we'll have is approving financials. Ops may have a resolution. So it should be short, other than Guy's finance budget presentation. We want to invite the budget committee to that. So I think Robert said he could also meet in the evening if he had to, but I'm not sure about Nick's availability.
I'm fine in the morning, either time.
Well, I'm more interested in making sure what's the most convenient for the budget committee,
Okay.
because some of those people work.
Yeah.
And morning may not be so easy.
Okay.
So whatever works for them works for me.
Okay. We'll do a little more.
I have,
Make a decision.
I keep it on my calendar as the evening, so I plan around it, but
Okay.
I'm somewhat flexible. I have a appointment in Longview at 11 that day and a meeting from 4 to 5 in Rainier. So those are my restrictions.
I'll check with Commissioner Sorber. Robert's availability. Anything, a couple things I added since Friday, is the legislative day at SDAO, while Gina and Bob Salisbury and I will be in DC. March 12th is Special Districts Association Legislative Day in Salem. Legislative reception that evening, if anyone's interested to get down to that. Be a good opportunity.
Have you been to those in the past?
I've been to Ports Day, which we will do again in April 10th, I believe. Special district's a little broader, you know, the ports one's obviously real down to ports. So long answer, but no, I don't believe I've been to the special districts one. Let's see, we got any questions on my calendar? Oh, I want to say yesterday, Gina and I were down in Salem. We met with Senator Weber and Representatives Davity and Edwards. Nice visits with them, pretty brief, but we talked about some of the things the port's working on that we may or may not need state help with. Talked about our federal grant questions, uncertainty. We've got support letters from all of them on our grants, which has been, or another one on the last one. Really good visits. They're super busy right now. They've got a record number of bills that were dumped on them last week that were added to an already massive list. So the fact that they carved out 15 minutes was really nice. And they're on their way to committee meetings and things like that. So yeah, good day down in Salem. It rained in the morning and was nice in the afternoon. So we scored. And I'll definitely be trying to arrange more of those in the future after the April Ports Day. And it'd be good to have a contingent go down, you know, sometimes we can bring a commissioner or two and go down and meet with them and make sure they were on their radar. So, I mean, I found out some things about Senator Weber's staff that I didn't know before, which were really interesting, related to Astoria. The staffer was a resident of Astoria, so she knows that those folks at the port pretty well. So that was interesting to find out. You find out how different relationships are together and things. So that's good time we'll spend. And we found a really cool coffee shop too that we worked at for quite a while. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on future visits and we'll try to make a mission out of it, little mini missions out of it, I guess.
Always good to foster those relationships.
And I do have on here that I'm off for last week of March, which is no, that's fake news right now. I'm actually taking that off. Rescheduling that, so. And so manager reports attached. Those were, nothing changed from Friday when I sent those out, but I want to make sure you have those in front of you in case there aren't any questions, so.
Good.
That's all I got.
Those reports are great.
Yes, excellent as always.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we only have 3 commissioner reports to go
This will
through
be
today.
fast.
So we'll start with Chip.
I attended the Scappoose Bay Marina event last night, and it was very well managed by Miriam and Elizabeth. They do an excellent job, and it was a great, I think, a very convivial discussion on everything. There was really no arguments about anything or concern, and if anything, they wanted us to increase the prices on lots of things.
What?
And we were suggesting, yes.
Yeah, the main topic was, I attended virtually as well. The main topic was rate increases for mortgage and whatnot. And there was definitely a willingness to increase them.
Yeah.
They understand the financial
the
situation
problem,
at the marina and very much support
They were-
kind of catching up in that way.
And when can we expect the results of the study, the Marina study?
It'll be, it should be this month, anytime this month. I think we got some last bit of data last week, so.
I'm really
Should be fine.
anxious to see that. Yeah,
Hopefully in time for our budget. Session.
good.
And they very specifically wanted to raise the dump station fee rather than waiting for more information. I think we had talked about that in the
Yes.
previous meeting, so something to potentially revisit sooner rather than later. And I'm sure Miriam will be on that, but yeah, it was good conversation,
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good group.
very engaged.
Yeah. For me, or was that it?
Yeah, that's it.
For me, I think the biggest thing I've been involved in, I went to all 3 of the elected officials' town halls. And, you know, I usually go to them and never seen this many people, as you can probably understand. And it was interesting because it was a case of, is this going to be contentious? Or is it going to be lots and lots of questions? And I will say, I was impressed by the majority of people who held on to their decorum. You know, there wasn't a lot of rancor, there wasn't any yelling. There was a lot of very concerned people with questions. Wyden's town hall in Scappoose was the biggest crowd I've ever seen. The place was full all the way up the bleachers. I mean, it was an engaged group of people, and it was, of course, a majority of people who are concerned, and there were others who vocally said, we're fine with what's happening, let's wait and see. So there was a lot of different viewpoints, which I really appreciated. And, you know, Senator Wyden's been at this a very long time, and he's very good at making people feel heard and feel comfortable without ever giving us a lot of, yep, this is what's going to happen, because right now, we all know nobody knows what's going to happen. Very small crowd for Bonamici in Clatskanie. There were some very big concerns from people who came. But then it was followed the next week by, or actually the weekend, that following weekend with Berkeley, which drew a lot bigger crowd in Clatskanie. And that was a much more vocal crowd. These were people, there were federal employees who were there specifically to ask questions. Again, nobody has any answers, but just the fact that people showed up and the fact that they were all given an opportunity, you know, within the structure of the event itself to get their feelings out there, and to have everybody in the crowd listening to them respectfully, nobody visibly being contentious. That to me was the most important part, because we are in obviously contentious times right now. And to see people in our community really trying to work together and to listen to each other respectfully, that was impressive. I was proud of us. That's my report.
All right, thank you. I don't have anything to add outside of the Scappoose Bay meeting, so. Yeah, nothing else on the agenda.
Holy moly, this is a record.
38-minute meeting. No executive session, right?
Correct.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you all.